Hey guys, it's Drakoak, back again with another video. This one's going to be super quick and straight to the point, and I'm going to mention right now, this is directed at players who know little to nothing about Vanilla and have either never played it before and are going to experience it for the first time when Classic WoW is released, or haven't played it in over 10 years and need a little refresher. So, I mean, if you're already experienced with Vanilla, this video is probably not going to help you at all. I'm not getting super in-depth with the leveling process because I plan on making more in-depth videos about each class and guides for that later on. This is just general advice and tips for leveling in Vanilla WoW for someone who knows nothing about it. So sit back, relax, and if you enjoy it, please throw me a thumbs up and subscribe, and let's get rolling. First thing I should mention is that you need to sell anything and everything you can along the way. Literally loot everything. Any grays that mobs drop, just pick it all up and vendor it. And obviously, throw any greens or mats you won't be using on the auction house. If you have enchanting, make sure that before you disenchant an item, that it's worth it to do that instead of selling it on the auction house. Because if it's an item that's worth like a decent chunk of gold and you could sell it and buy twice, 3 times, or even 4 times as many mats with the gold as you would have gotten from disenchanting it, then the answer to what you should do with that item is pretty obvious. But yeah, just make sure you loot and sell literally everything. It will help you so much in the long run, especially around level 40 when you're gonna have to buy a mount, because there is a very high possibility that you will be short on gold by the time you hit level 40 for the mount. So just make sure you do that. Now, this kind of leads up into me talking about professions. First off, you should know that if you are basically any class that doesn't have any healing abilities, especially melee, first aid is an absolute necessity, right? It's also extremely easy to level, so it shouldn't be an issue. But my advice is to get your professions ASAP and make sure to optimize your professions for what class you're playing and what your goals are with that class. For example, if you plan to PvP mainly, then you will absolutely need engineering. Or if you're just a regular raider and, like, let's say you roll a warrior, then you would obviously want to pick up, you know, mining and blacksmithing. But whatever you roll, just make sure to pick up your professions as soon as you can so you can level them with your character. First aid is pretty much the only secondary that's necessary for certain classes, but it may be nice to pick up fishing and cooking too, but I'm not going to say fishing and cooking is 100% necessary. And this kind of leads me into my next point. You should always keep food and or water on you, like at all times. In Vanilla, you will actually run out of mana and run low on health in between pools while questing, and it is an actual issue, so just be prepared for that. Make sure every time you go back into town or a quest hub that you stock up on all of your essentials. It's extremely important. Okay, now going back to the mount thing and making sure you have enough gold for that, like I mentioned earlier. Also, don't train all of your spells. Yes, class trainers are a thing in Vanilla. You will go there, you will train your spells, you will train the different ranks of spells. Do not train all of them. Only train the ones you need, the ones that are in your rotation, the ones you'll be using often, the ones you don't need that can wait till later on, and you can train that when you're level 60 and you have the gold for it. But while leveling, only train the necessities, and you can look up different class guides. I will be releasing class guides for various different classes as time goes on and we get closer to the release of Classic WoW. But just make sure you only train the essential spells, because it'll be a waste of money otherwise. You will never have any gold and it'll just be a mess. You'll never get your mount. Just train the necessities, alright? Just listen to me here. Alright, now as far as dungeons go, it's not like in Live where you can just face roll dungeons all the way to level cap. Dungeon leveling is not a thing in vanilla because they give basically no experience. It's a good way to get decent gear while you're leveling, but that's about it. So my advice for doing dungeons while leveling is to do them all once or maybe twice tops, but make sure that before you go into each instance that you have every possible quest for it to gain the most out of the experience and lose as little time as possible. Because I know some people who go back like 3 times and complete a different quest for the dungeon each time, and it is just like a complete waste of time. It's just so stupid. Just make sure you have all the quests before you go in, and then you complete them all, and then you are good. And that's that. The only dungeon that I've ever run like a bunch of times while I'm leveling up is if I'm like a shaman, paladin, warrior, basically someone who wears mail. Scarlet Monastery, the armory side, that you might have to run a few times to get all the gear because it's really good gear. You know, the Ravager, Harad Shoulder, all that shit. So that one I do run quite a few times. But other than that, there's not really a reason to. So just make sure you have all the quests beforehand. Okay, so now my last major point. Just for fuck's sakes, make sure you make routes that work for your quests. And by that, I mean make it to where you can complete as many quests at one time as possible while moving the least amount as possible. In my add-on pack / UI guide video, I mentioned an add-on called Vanilla Guide. It basically lays out exactly what routes to take and exactly what time to do what quests, and I highly recommend that if you don't really know all the vanilla quests by heart, because it will save you a ton of time. But this is really important because flight paths and graveyards are very scarce. They're just very few and far between, unlike in live, so you need to make sure to make your routes ahead of time if you're not using a guide for it. Alright guys, if you haven't played Classic before or you just needed a refresher, then I sincerely hope this helped. If you follow this advice, you really shouldn't have a problem keeping up with your guildies and friends so you can start to clear the endgame content and progress at the same time as them. I also highly recommend looking up a level guide for your specific class if you're new to it, because that will help tremendously, both with teaching you how to spec and how to play. And like I said earlier, I will eventually be making in-depth class guides for Classic WoW as we get closer to the release. Just bear with me on the time here. You know, I'm not one of the full-time YouTubers. I do it for fun. But thanks again for watching, and if you enjoyed, please like the video, and if you want to see more content related to this, then be sure to subscribe. And if you are subscribed, or you're going to, then make sure you hit the bell icon to enable post-bell notifications, because that's the only way to get notified whenever I post. After that, a dialog box will pop up where you can just check the little checkbox thing, and then you click save, and you will be all set to get notified when I post. Thanks again, I really hope this helped, and I will see you guys next time. What the fuck? What the fuck? Jesus Christ. Oh my god. What the fuck?